Hey YouTubers! Today we're going to go back to Anza-Borrego State Park. There's an Indian village down there that the Kumeyaay Indians used to live in. We're going to go down and visit that village as well as look at their petrographs that they had painted on the rocks. These are an ancient people, and yet even today their ancestors are still with us. So let's hop in our hot rods and let's roll to Anza-Borrego. The white shadow will be taking me. Many of you are asking me, what is the white shadow? The white shadow is a 2017 Dodge Challenger SRT with a 392 Hemi. It came from the factory with 485 horsepower. I'm driving while I'm doing this, so bear with me. The modifications I put on it so far are an oil catch can. And I also installed a Hellcat air intake. Made a big difference. I'm pretty sure it added some power to it. I could feel the difference, and the sound is incredible. Other than that, it's pretty stock. So as I modify the car, which I will do as time goes by, I'll keep you updated with modifications. But until then, the white shadow is going to roll. We're at the Mortoro Memories. It is an Indian village of the Kumeyaay, and one of their favorite feasts was agave, which I'll show you. Alright, let's go find the real thing. And this is a stock that's well past its prime, obviously, and these are the plants, and they would take these stalks when they were young and tender, and this is what they would roast. This is a roasting pit of what's remains. You can see how the black soot. And what the Kumeyaay would do is they would dig a hole, build a fire, put it in the pit, and keep putting coals in it. Then they would take a stalk from the agave, which you can see over there, and they would take that stalk just at the right time. They would pop it off the, what we call a century plant today, and stick it in the pit, stick several stalks in there, and then put coals all around them with dirt in between so it didn't burn the stalks, and let them roast for days, 3 days typically. And what I was told is that when they come out, they taste like sweet potatoes. This here is a nakatillo. I'm showing you this one because it doesn't have any leaves. Look at the thorns in that thing. I'll show you one that's blooming in a bit. Now, as I said, I would show you a nakatillo that has leaves. These leaves camouflage this plant, the thorns especially, as you can see. That over there is one that does not have any leaves, and you can clearly see the thorns. In the end is a red flowers bloom, but this one has already passed the bloom and dropped its flower leaves or petals. Okay, here, this is a one that is not used a lot. Someone's put a rock here to see this material, to see how this material would be used, as they would take their seeds and grind them up into a flour, and then take the flour and make patties out of them. But that's way too large for the hands of the Kumeyaay women. The Kumeyays were not a big people, they were a small people, barely over 5 feet. So their hands wouldn't fit around that, and they wouldn't use that. They would use a smaller pestle, and that's what they called them, a pestles, and to grind it, that their hands would wrap around so that they would not smash their fingers. Now, one of the downsides to this, you think it's all natural and all is good, but what would take place over years is their teeth would be ground down because of the sand that would be mixed with their flour and inherently make its way into the patties. And we're still along the village. Up here you can see other morteros that have been used, deeper with water in them since it has just recently rained. And you can see that the women would sit up here grinding, preparing the meals, and watch the view. And yet here's another mortero. It too is full of rocks and is deep, so it was used for years and years, as this granite doesn't easily give way. Now what is interesting is someone just recently discovered cupels, dents or indentations you can see in the rock. These are called cupels, and they were a part of the initiation of the young people into manhood and to womanhood. The Kumeyays were greatly abused by the Spanish missions. They were also called Mission Indians because when they converted to Catholicism, many of them were enslaved and used as forced labor to build the missions. It wasn't their lifestyle. They thought, the Spanish monks thought it was to their benefit to teach them how to plant and harvest like the Europeans. Most of them died from the diseases that they had no immune system to fight. And yet even this, there's still some surviving Kumeyaay to this day. Their language for the most part has been forgotten. As we enter into some Kumeyaay Indians kitchens, you can see not only do you see morteros where they sit here under this rock, probably from the shade, but you also see cupels. There are cupels here where there have been initiations into manhood or womanhood, and there are cupels along this rock too. You see, you can begin to piece together the culture of these people. Now, they weren't regarded very highly amongst the other tribes because they were considered poor. Some even considered them bug eaters, and there was a woman who lived with them. You can see cupels here and cupels there were added. She came and lived with them to study them and their primitive behavior, and she didn't have a lot of kind words to say about them except they were friendly people. They did not wear a lot of clothes. Not much different than Marshall South, must be something about this area. And they were pretty dirty. But you got to remember that water was scarce. So they didn't spend their time bathing as we do. Matter of fact, this daily bathing is a modern thing. Even in Europe during the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, they did not bathe, but maybe once a month. They felt that bathing was bad for you. This rock has shallow morteros where they ground down the seeds. But this rock has actually split in two, probably after the Kumeyaay. How cool is that? As we continue down the trail, you can see little morteros, slicks, sometimes they're called. The village is still continuing. This was a fairly large Kumeyaay village, occupied for quite a while. And we're actually walking on their trails that they made. You are traveling on this video on a Kumeyaay trail. There are these petroglyphs scattered throughout this rocky region. And it is because if one had a vision quest during their time right after their initiation into manhood, then they would draw what they saw, or at least something that represented what they saw. Now this organic material that was used to make this rock art was charcoal from their fireplaces mixed with the oil from roasted cucumber seeds. Let me walk over here to Split Rock, or by this rock over here so we can get out of the wind. Now, just like all humans, in order for them to have survived here, they had to have three things: shelter, water, and food. Well, we've already looked at their food supplies and we've seen their shelters, and we know that they made stick huts with branches and such. But as for the water, we see that this is arid. There's no water here now. But you say, well, how did that happen? Well, in this region, there's a lot of earthquakes. And what takes place is, this may have had at least a seasonal stream, if not a year-round stream. But then there will be an earthquake and it will shut up the water source coming out of the ground. As this is actually, if you look behind me here, and I turn around, you're going to see that there's actually, this leads to a dry waterfall at the end. Hopefully I don't see the camera. If you follow this down, it goes to a dry waterfall. So we know that there was water here. Down where that pictograph was, that wasn't a wash, there was water down there. So at some time there was water here, and then because of seismic activity, the water source was shut off. What an incredible trip that was. The Kumeyaay Indians are a special people. It's an amazing thing how they lived off the land the way they did, the way they moved with nature. Even today, I believe their ancestors are special. Well, thank you for coming on this adventure with me. These times of exploration are special. And we ask that if you like the content, hit the like button and let us know that you appreciated the trip. If you want to go on future trips with us, hit the subscribe button so that you will know when our next adventure is. And thank you again for coming, and God bless you.